Okay, we're live on YouTube and
What was that?
there we are.
There we are.
And we're live on YouTube, on Facebook. The Facebook. And there's nobody here because everybody's abandoned us. Oh, hello, Krell.
No, not everyone
Can you hear us okay?
has abandoned us.
Yeah, I know we've been kind of silent for a long time, except for the event we did in Cincinnati. Sounds good to you? Good. I'm glad the mic is working. I got everything back up to snuff. We did use the same laptop and OBS software to create the slideshow that you're seeing displayed now. I think you're seeing it. Let me see. Yeah, it's there. On the Cincinnati meeting, we didn't talk about the slides much,
No, we didn't.
but we played them. I think it was kind of good.
Talked about it a little bit.
Nobody asked questions about them, but except one person
But he was
wanted to see another picture of the Hale Bopp comet that he hadn't seen before. And so it was a good meeting. I guess we haven't talked about it since the meeting, right?
We haven't.
And but the title of this live stream is, there's one person on Facebook. Hello there. I'll see if I can see my chats. Oh, no comments yet. But this, we named this, Kathy came up with the name and she said, "Eye for an eye, does it still apply?" Sounds so cute, right? But, you know, to look at the world and to look at the religious who supposedly believe in that, well, that's the problem with religion. They get stuck, and it's like you're in the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. You're in high school, and yet you want to live by the rules of 6th grade. You know, in terms of not the rules, but the lesson plan. You want to live by the lesson plan of the 6th grade, which Eye for an Eye was part of the 6th grade lesson plan to help civilize people because they were pretty wild. Now they're still wild, but not everybody is as wild as others. And it's the ones that are still like locked into the 6th grade mindset that are kind of running the world. You know, the human kingdom part of it.
Well, and we also chose that. I was thinking of that because of the tape that we just listened to, which was number 12?
Yes.
Tape 12?
Tape 12.
I've been wanting to listen to them from the beginning, and not just jump around like we have been doing or just kind of randomly picking stuff. Plus I'm trying to come across a tape that we'd listened to before that says a specific thing. But T and Doe were talking about the prison system. And I guess Presodi, well, at some point in the beginning of the class, they had talked about I don't know what kind of project it was or whatever, because I wasn't there. Sawyer would maybe remember, but they had, I guess, talked about designing a prison system that would actually like work instead of being punitive. And so T was talking about how the prison system, even back then, they were talking about this before it was kind of, I don't want to say trendy, but before, it had caught on that, the prison system is designed to just punish people and not actually reform them. And T and Doe in that tape 12, discussed, not too much, but briefly, their experience in the punitive system, where they started out in a jail in Brownsville, Texas, right along the border, and then I think they were both transferred up to St. Louis.
I don't think so.
T was let out.
Doe was, yeah. T spent
like
at least a month
30 days
in jail. I don't know if it was Brownsville or somewhere around there.
Because
Harlingen or
the rental car company was based out of St. Louis, so that's why he was transferred to St. Louis.
Right, and T wasn't prosecuted for that because they used one of Doe's old credit cards.
And the charges against her were dropped, and him as well.
Yes.
But like he said, there was a DA that wanted to bolster himself up. But anyway, they discussed how, Doe was talking about how he didn't know a lot of the people that he made friends with. Well, maybe not a lot. That's my words. But some of the people that he had made friends with were murderers. Had several murder convictions, actually. But he didn't know that before he became friends with them. And you wouldn't know it just to be talking with them or whatever. But how they had some lessons that they'd learned, and they'd been through some deep trauma from the experiences that they'd had. And T talked about she was ministering to people in prison.
She didn't
jail.
say it that way.
She didn't say it that way, but she talked to, that's basically what she was doing.
Yes.
Was, she was speaking to one woman who was walking the streets and was stealing, and the woman just thought God didn't, care about her anymore, that the rules applied to other people as far as, if you've asked for forgiveness or whatever, but they didn't apply to her, that she was just going to be a bad person, period. And T was telling her, no, that's not how it works, and you have the free will. And the woman was like, no, that's for normal people, that's not for me. And T was like, that's for everybody, that's what God has given us, is free will to make the choices that we're going to make. And so that woman had a little bit of a change of heart for a couple of days, but that's where the last tape that we listened to, that was part of the description, was eye for an eye.
So greetings to Mojo.
Hello, Mojo.
Daniel Mills, good evening.
Hey, Daniel. I don't know if any of that really.
Melissa Sweeney says, I don't think the ones ruling the world actually believe in their religions. And you got a good point in that, I think. Is that, well, especially Christians. I hate to say it, but, the idea that an eye for an eye, that came about in the 6th grade, according to T and Doe, when people were primitive, and any reason under the sun for them to, attack somebody or kill them or was kind of acceptable. Like animals in the wild. Just, if they don't get their way. And we're seeing that now happening more and more. to where if somebody is angry and they just walk into a school and they shoot up a bunch of kids, and those kind of things are happening because people have no restraint and they haven't outgrown the primitive part of their animal nature. I mean, even animals aren't like that a lot of times. They don't just kill for.
Yeah, they're not walking in across the savannah and just taking everyone out.
Right. So
they're mad.
So, but Christians especially, if they believe in their religion, in what Jesus taught, then they certainly would not be in support of eye for an eye, and therefore they couldn't support the wars. And most of the wars actually weren't eye for an eye at all anyway. They were basically, the corporate run government, trying to seek profit and stopping other powers from gaining too much power, So, like the war in Iraq, was that for actual defense? Well, he said it was. That's like, you live in a neighborhood and you've heard your neighbor talk bad about you, and so you decide that you're going to go blow up his house. That's kind of what Saddam Hussein was doing. And it's like totally out of control, totally corrupt. There is not, and T and Do in that tape were talking about goodness, genuine goodness. They weren't supporting murderers. They weren't supporting, but they were supporting learning lessons from every experience that humans can have. Jason Holez says, "Hey guys."
Hello.
NRL Time says, "Hi, been a while since I caught a live stream."
It's been a while since we've done one.
Yeah, we haven't done many recently. Retro United Media says, "Hey there, just wanted to hop in and say hello. Hope you are both doing well." Well, hello to you, and we'll see if you stay around for a little bit. Whatever suit your boat, float your boat. But you want to talk more about that tape?
Yeah, you listen to it too.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not in my mind right now as much. Maybe it might be for you since you listened to it twice.
Well, they were talking about T and Do. Were talking about the books that the students were tasked with writing. That they had received, instruction to go ahead and write books, and they were writing these books. I could be wrong, but I believe that they were, a lot of the things, like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't really know, but a lot of the things that they did.
I was there and I don't really know.
Well, like T was talking about, was to bring. So T brought up the Cain and Abel, and
good.
Adam and Eve, and how Adam and Eve's children were Cain and Abel, right? And
well, can I say something first?
Yeah.
That Doe chimed in partway after talking about this to say that they're not saying that story is exactly the way it was described.
Right.
But they were saying that the lessons in it are accurate.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And mainly T talked about Cain and how Cain went against what he was asked to do, and he was cast out for that. He didn't bring an offering that was what was asked of him, and that as a result of that Cain and all of his descendants were working for the lower forces, whether they knew it or not. And that Adam and Eve had had another child named Seth, and that Seth was a man of God, and that he was living his life trying to follow instructions as he received them. And that, I'm just paraphrasing and summing it up as I understood what she was saying, that basically Cain represented the lower forces and Seth represented the next level, and the way that both of those individuals were pursuing their lives, and that all of the descendants of Cain were led to be influenced by the lower forces, and that the descendants of Seth were the opposite, were striving to, connect with their heavenly Father, or the next level, the higher power. And that what the class was here for at that time, why they were writing these books, was to bring back to the world, to the earth, the goodness of Seth. And to project their thoughts into the ether, that's the word that she used, to change the influence of the lower forces, and of just influences of just dead people that influence us, whether it's our family, our past family, even our past selves, what our soul had been up to in the past. But that the class was there. They taught, and why they were writing these books was so that people would read these books after they were gone and get the goodness from them. That it wasn't just, we're doing this while we're in the class. We're thinking about after we're gone and what's going to happen to this planet and the earth and all of the souls on it. And not just when we leave, this task stops. There's an ongoing task for anybody who connects with this information, who thinks that this is the truth, that believes it. And that is to project our thoughts into the ether of goodness and of the next level, and of the existence of older members, and of who created this planet and what this planet is here for, what we're here for, what our purpose is. It doesn't just stop after they leave. I've been feeling really disconnected lately, and just like we're not doing enough. I'm not doing enough personally, and trying to connect with Doe, because that's my first line of communication is Doe. That's my link to the next level. That's my older member. And I just felt really separate. And like, what did I ask you? Are we fooling ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Are we fooling ourselves by, what we're doing, and just like making up a purpose for ourselves? And that's part of what I need to overcome, and probably what a lot of people need to overcome. I know what the truth is. I was just telling Sawyer yesterday that any guru that I got into, that I listened to or researched or thought like, yeah, they were onto something, there was always parts of it that just sounded like crap, non-truth. It's like, oh, if they hadn't thrown that in there, then I'd buy this hook, line, and sinker, or whatever. Christianity, Buddhism, anything that I've thought like, oh, I wanna try to do that. I want to believe in that. That's the thing. I was saying to myself, I want to believe in that, but I just couldn't. There's always been something that's just off about it. So when I listened to that Beyond Human tape, I don't remember which one it was. I would imagine I would have started with the first one. Like I said, I've said many times, I connected with what Doe was saying. I believed everything that he said. And I thought, oh my God, what if this guy's right? Like, what if I think what he's saying is the truth? And that led me to where I'm at now, but from day one, I knew that what he was saying was true. And I haven't felt that about any other thing I've ever come across. I don't feel like I'm fooling myself, or I'm like, I want to believe it. It's almost a burden to believe it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's almost like, as we interact with people and do events and things, and I mean, we pick up on what people are thinking, and just like, oh, those people are insane. They're completely nuts. How could they believe that? Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And maybe we don't explain it that well when we're doing a 3-hour event. Like, there's only so much that you can say in a few hours. But, and I always come back to the thing of, I don't really care what people think of me, but sometimes the thought crosses my mind like, oh my God, what do people think of me? Like, I'm a cult groupie. Like, he hates when I say that, I think. But that's sometimes I feel like people are projecting those thoughts to me, like, oh, she just, wanted to screw a guy that was in a cult. Like, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I don't know where I'm going with all that.
Well, it's that you're expressing your negative the influences that bombard you.
Yeah, I've been having a time of it.
Yeah, they can bring you down to where you mentally and physically can be drained from negativity. And I wanted to respond to something in the Facebook.
Yeah,
Levon Ewens is here.
Hey,
and
Levon,
he says,
we were just
hey
talking
guys,
about you.
He says, hey guys, miss you all.
Yeah.
And then he says, I always tell everyone how I met you guys and that night, and everyone back in Savannah wants to be your friends now. Well, that's nice to hear.
Levon, if you're still here, we're trying to figure out, and that's probably part of the anxiety and the feelings that I'm having, is living in an RV, and it's just like, okay, well, where are we going after this? Like, what are we going to do after this? Like, after we're done, we stay 21 days in a campground, and then we got to go 7 days to another campground, and 21 days to another one. And it's just kind of like, okay, where are we going to go? And Sawyer's, we both are of the mind that we need to put meetings on, that we need to have, people hear his experience in the group, and then also what they actually believed. But also at the same time, like, we have to go in the winter where it's warm. So that doesn't leave too many options. We know we don't like Florida. I don't know, maybe we didn't give it enough of a chance, but we certainly did not like Orlando. And I can't imagine putting ourselves through that again.
No, not Orlando, but...
like, we liked Daytona Beach, but it was completely dead. So it's like, you have to be there in the time that it's busy. As far as the work that we do, which is Uber Eats, we can't, like, put on enough meetings to just have enough money to get to the next town by doing that. Like, it seems like hopefully we're going to do at least one meeting a month. And so we were talking about coming back to Savannah, the Charleston area for the winter, because our job is good there. there seems to be enough to go around for everyone. In other places, it's not so great. So we'll see what happens if we end up back in Savannah or not.
It's a little complicated, but at the same time, I think we can't go too far in advance. I mean, we're already projecting ourselves several months.
We know where we're going to be through the end of August.
Yeah, because we have to set up our lodging, the RV parks that we stay in. We have to make those arrangements well in advance. Otherwise, we cannot.
Or we won't have a place.
We can lose the opportunity to have a place, right? And so we're thinking, okay, well, there's different reasons why we wanted to be in different places. And so we're thinking, well, what cities are we near, where we can put on a meeting? And anyway, so it's a challenge, but I think we're meeting it. I'm not satisfied that we got it all in the right place, because we want to do what T&O would have us do in terms of holding meetings so that people can get a more realistic view of everything that the media has been saying was terrible about the Heaven's Gate group. Anyway, so I want to get on to the chat room, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And Diode Nerd is here. Says,
hey.
His howdy from horrid, moist Texas.
That's one nice thing about where we're at, is it's not humid. So
we're in Cincinnati area still.
Yeah, that's why we left Savannah. It was getting too hot.
We'll be moving pretty soon. So if anybody's trying to target us for anything, you're not going to find us.
You'll never find us.
Not that anybody cares about where we are, but Ryan Voorhees is here. Hello to you. And he says, I already feel like I've been wasting my life working weekends. I'm wore out. I took a 30-day leave of absence from work. Not even been 2 weeks in there, already calling me, wanting me to come back in. It just blows my mind that people think working yourself to death is normal. They're the ones in a cult, haha.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying with that. But you just reminded me of something that I've been seeing happening more and more lately. And that is, now the Republicans are calling, I'm saying Republicans, but, they got that label. But I'd hear them on Fox News, whatever, and then the Democrats are doing the same thing on their channels, MSNBC, and where they're calling each other's beliefs a cult.
Right.
So you've got the people on the right, so-called the right, the conservative right, who are upset about how a certain amount of transgenderism is getting support and is, some dominance in the public discussions and some laws too being written for that community of people, and the conservative right looks at that as like a cult, and they also look at the climate. The whole thing that humans are going to be able to fix the climate, by not burning so much fossil fuels, as a cult, which I agree with that part of it. That's I wouldn't call it a cult, but in a sense, they're using Heaven's Gate as their example in their articles. I just saw 2 articles that were saying where was more of a liberal leaning a group that were talking about the right kind of people, and they're saying, and they're comparing it throughout the whole article with the Heaven's Gate group, saying that this is a cult of insanity, and and it's like it's not going to go away. Like Ben Zeller said in this little document that he just put on Reddit that he wrote.
No, it's not. That's not necessarily. It was a question and answers. So there's a Reddit thread that was started by somebody named Heaven's Gate, or I don't know how Reddit works, but there's Heaven's Gate Reddit page, thread, I don't know what. And they gathered questions from the Reddit community that follows that Heaven's Gate thread, which they're using the Heaven's Gate logo, which apparently Mark and Sarah don't have a problem with that. They only have a problem with us using it, even though we're not anymore. But regardless of that, they asked people to submit questions. And so they then took those questions and sent them to Ben Zeller. If anybody doesn't know who Ben Zeller is, he's like the go-to expert. I should put 1,000 quotation marks around that because he's no expert. I don't want to say anything bad about him, as I'm going to proceed to say bad things about him. But I'm going to try to limit myself, restrain myself. But he answered those questions. So Ben Zeller is somebody, he's done a fair amount of research on the group. I'll give him that. But he says things like he knows what he's talking about. He says like things as if they're absolute facts.
Yeah.
He says things like as if he was in the group, even though he never spent one day with any of them. So that's where my beef is with him. He said a lot of things in this question and answer forum that were really annoying and just dead wrong. But then there's some other things that he said, like he addressed somebody, asked if, there's like kind of different schools of thought on whether Doe was a mass murderer or a manipulator or whatever. And Ben Zeller said that he did not see any evidence of that. And that he felt like Terry T's daughter was kind of perpetuating that to deal with her own hurt at how her mother passed and she didn't get to see her and all this. That was something that, he did not see evidence of, that Doe was a master manipulator. He said that Doe believed what he was saying and that he lived exactly as the class did and that he died exactly the way the class did. So.
Right, his vehicle. But what I was going to get to was where he said that the story still has a hold on people. He used the word hold on people. And I haven't weighed in on that yet, but I'm writing about it right now. And I will post that on my blog when I'm done with it. But that's not the reason why people are still talking about Heaven's Gate. And also people are coming to believe in T and Doe's teachings, which Ben also got off the track on talking about. It's because when the truth is available about in the next level, the people that created this planet and all the life forms on it to be a school, so they want the truth to be available to people. But they allow the lower forces, the dropouts from a previous classroom that went against the next level and don't even know it anymore because they lost sight of who the next level is, that they're evolutionarily as distant from humans as humans are distant evolutionarily from animals. Anyway, so that's the draw. The draw is that they brought a new infusion of what was real about this planet and the life forms on it. But the planet had become, the human kingdom, not the planet itself, but the human kingdom had become so saturated with misinformation about the next level and about, which the religions represent. The religions are totally misinformed about the reality that they talk about.
Misguided.
Misguided, though they have pieces of the truth, as do atheists, as does a lot of people have pieces of the truth. But Tiendo had the whole bundle. But their purpose for being here was to address the people the souls that had grown to recognize what they had taught them in past generations when those souls were incarnate in vehicles. Mm-hmm. And so they're the 12th graders in the high school. And so they get the chance to graduate into the next level. So it's not like he said in like one of the evidences of the hold that the story still has, and I'm not sure I'm relating this accurately, but was that he said that the former members were suing each other, and that's not true. Ben, if you happen to be tuning into this, that's not true. I need you to try to, not I need you to, but I compel you to try to be more accurate when you talk. And I'm going to tell you what's accurate, what's not accurate about that is that I'm not suing anybody. I didn't sue anybody. Now, I have in
and
my
I'm
defense.
not a former member.
Right, and Kathy's not a former member. And she's not suing anybody either.
We are countersuing them, though.
But that's a defense. If you don't leverage a countersuit when you have the opportunity to, then you don't get to have your day in court with your concerns. And you don't have the ability then to be compensated for having to fight this damn lawsuit and to get what you want from it. All you can do if you don't do a countersuit is not allow, by winning would be that they don't get what they want. And that can be in degrees. But when you put a countersuit on it, then you can actually say what you want from it as opposed to what you don't want. So I'm not suing anybody. And I thought about it. I had someone that's actually in the chat right now. I'm not going to say who it is, or he was in here a little while ago, I think.
Yeah.
He actually came to me one time because I've known him for a lot of years, and he came to me one time and he said he was going to sue Mark and Sarah to get the audio tapes. And this was years before they sued me, and Kathy and Carlotti. And I thought at the time, well, I don't feel like I want to do that, but if you do, I will support you in it. However best I can. And then I started asking Doe, would you have me try to sue them? To get all those audio tapes that we knew they had, but they weren't giving to me. Which, by the way, we found out from this article that Ben Zeller wrote that they did show him some of the contents of what was in storage.
So they'll show somebody that just speaks untruths about the group, things that were in storage that they got from the group, but they won't show anybody else. They won't show actual believers, but they'll show a guy that's basically been bad-mouthing the group since they left.
Well, I mean, he's not someone that's a believer in Tiendo's mind. So that's the bottom line. I mean, what Doe's instruction was to Mark and Sarah was to divide the items of value in storage among those who are inclined to disseminate their information. And that means give it to the people that want it. And yet they won't give us, the ones that are doing major disseminations, and have proved it over 15 years of doing that. Carlotti, and 20 years even, myself, and some others. So it's like, and Juan Odie in his own way has been doing it as well
I just saw this thing on
in
Facebook
Venezuela.
where somebody said, who are the people that are lying? And then the next thing said, it's the people that are stopping the people from telling the truth from talking.
Mm, good point. That goes into a lot of subjects, right? Right? The people that stop you from talking.
Yep.
Why are they doing that? Why is there a censorship growing on on different social media sites? Um, it's
You gotta be careful with that.
like, yeah, I know,
Don't
I
talk
am
about
careful
it,
with it.
because then this whole thing.
I'm not saying anything specifically, but if anybody pays attention to some of the posts I make on Facebook, where I do most of the posting, you're going to see, for instance, the way that I have been watching. I've associated with R.F. Kennedy Jr., his bid for the presidency, and how he's being treated by pretty much the liberal media very poorly, and even like having on an interview that Jimmy Dore talked about and published his responses to, where the person asked him questions and then didn't give him a chance to answer the questions. I mean, kept on cutting him off when he would start to answer the question. And when he said, well, we don't have the time to go into all this. And so he was cut short. A number of times it happened. And then at one point, when he started to answer the question in another way, she said, oh, we only have 5 minutes left. When she really didn't have 5 minutes left. She had more time than that because they don't have a schedule on that show. And so it's like, I mean, they may have somewhat of a schedule, but certainly the show hadn't even started but 10 minutes before that. So how could you be, and the show goes on for an hour usually. But so, and yet RFK Jr. sat there and took it from this person and was not impolite. He was not, and this is his demeanor. He's, he's a pretty good guy in some ways. I'm not saying that he's a member of the next level or anything. I don't know where he stands in terms of the next level, but at one point he said, show me where I'm wrong. He wanted to know where he was wrong on the whole issue of, the medicines that, are a big controversy. And the host, didn't have anything to say about it, and said, well, we know you talked about this and that, and that's been discredited and debunked. And I knew from my own experience researching the subject that it wasn't debunked, and that it was debunked with a bunch of lies and disinformation, and so that. But they still use that as saying it was debunked, and that's an example of censorship. And then and so, but when he said that about show me where I'm wrong, I want to be shown where I'm wrong, I was like hearing next level mind glaring at me because of the way that Tiendo taught that everybody, if they're in a next level way of thinking, are going to question their own judgment, especially when they say things in an absolute form. Because next level members and all those that are students to some degree to those next level members, they want to know where they're wrong about something. Because it's not a negative for them. Because they're not trying to put on an air of self-importance. They want to know what their older members think about things. Because their older members are more objective than they are. And their older members have better judgment than they have. And they know that from experience, not because they were told that. Tiendo didn't tell us things. I mean, they did tell us things, okay? But But we don't grow by just hearing what they say and then not doing anything with it, or not confronting the thoughts that might disagree with it, and actually striving to understand what they were saying. If we don't do those things, then we're never going to understand what they were actually saying. We have to listen to the tapes. We have to listen to read the documents, and the audio tapes are, in my mind, somewhat crucial right now to having more pictures of how their minds worked
and what they wanted.
Where the media wants to just focus on how they left. And Carl already said this in the Cult of Cults documentary. Why are they only focusing on the way they left, as if that defines them 100%? It doesn't define them 100%. It doesn't define them at all, really. The same way that Doe said that Jesus wasn't defined by the resurrection from the dead. It didn't matter if Jesus didn't die, or if Doe didn't think this happened, but even if Jesus staged it to make it look like he died and resurrected, he did that for a reason. And that there's Christians, a lot of Christians would say that if that didn't happen, then all Christianity is like void, or when they're not paying attention to the hundreds of things that, maybe it's not hundreds of things that Jesus said that was documented and still kept accurate enough to understand how different it was from the human kingdom, to see that it was an advanced lesson in school that was taking away the eye for an eye.
Well, I thought that Doe talks about that in one of the Beyond Humans. I can't remember which one it is. About that, I think it's 5 maybe. How I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong about that, but how, like Sawyer was saying, if Jesus didn't actually like die, like physically, like doctors come in and say, yep, he's dead, no pulse, no heartbeat, no nothing, deader than dead, that if that didn't happen, that all of Christianity is moot. And that reminded me, because we just recently re-listened to the Beyond Human series. We stopped on 9 though, I think, so we have 10, 11, and 12 to listen to. But that reminded me about when we were in the meeting with Mark and Sarah, and back in November of 2021, that Sawyer brought up, what about tape 149? Where they're, T and Doe are telling the group to spread the message far and wide, and, disseminate and be with like-minded people. And
talking about what would happen after they left, that they would expected that all the audio tapes that they were making right now would be combed over by the public, and they could even grow by listening to them over and over again.
And so when Sawyer brought that up, Sarah immediately said, without any hesitation, well, they didn't go up on a spaceship, so everything else in that tape is moot.
Because they talked about, actually, how it might happen in the end, that they might be witnessed actually walking on a spacecraft by the media and all the people. And at the end of that tape, Doe said, this, what we're saying here isn't necessarily accurate.
Right. But that brought to my mind that how Sarah immediately focused in on, well, they didn't go up on a spaceship, so everything else they said was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Which, how dare she question her older members like that?
Yeah.
But also showed me later now that I just listened to that Beyond Human, and how Jesus said, which is true, Jesus did say, because Doe is Jesus.
The soul.
The soul, yeah.
Not the vehicle.
Yeah. That whether Jesus actually died or not didn't matter. That everything was
Right.
the same, whatever. That didn't negate the rest of the message that he brought. So it just recalled to me how far off the track that they've gotten. Also, in this tape that we listened to towards the end of it, Doe is talking about how he and T had major problems with the lower forces, that they were constantly dealing with them. So even our older members deal with the lower forces. Nobody is immune to that. No one. And for Mark and Sarah to act like they don't deal with lower forces, or that they don't want to look at the fact that they could be wrong. The whole reason they were kicked out of the group. They still don't want to look at that. It's still just, Mark last time was in such a fury that he couldn't keep his mouth shut in the chat and had to say, that we were deceivers and that we were not, saying anything of the next level, that this channel was a confusion or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And then he said that the judge has already ruled and everything that we're saying is going to get thrown out. So the judge literally has not ruled on anything for like the past 6 months. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Go to Pacer and look up our case. Like, we're just in limbo. Like, he's not ruling on anything. He hasn't ruled on their request for a preliminary injunction. He hasn't ruled on anything Carloti's asked him to. Multiple motions have been put before him. Dead silence. Nothing. It's like we don't even have a case on the docket anymore, it feels like. And we're just waiting to see what happens, I guess.
But at the same time, it's kind of okay because, we're not going to stop talking about the next level.
And we're not doing anything to infringe on their ill-gotten, fraudulently, illegally stolen goods. They stole from the class.
Yeah.
They stole that material and kept it for themselves.
Well, I wouldn't really call it that.
I know, but I am.
All right, that's all right.
Because that's what they did.
No, I mean,
they were told
that material was gifted to.
They were told to take it and
all those
spread
that
it out.
wanted it.
And
right.
spread it out.
So they are stealing it in the context of not allowing people to have access to it.
Yep, they took it and they kept it.
That's, I think, what Kathy is talking about.
Yeah.
And they accused me of stealing it because it was gifted to me from Juan Odie and Rick Odie. Years and years, 1997 and 2020. Or maybe it was 2021 early. I don't know. I get mixed up on the days now. Let me get back to the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Melissa says to Ryan, "Oh my God, I've been saying this. I can't believe people just work like they do. It's insanity. Our goal should have always been to work less, not more. But capitalism, greed." Ryan says, "Right, I can get everything done that I need to when I'm off. And we've been working 6 days a week. I just want to sleep 1 or 2 days. It's depressing and draining. All the money goes to taxes, etc." Well, yeah, taxes and the higher prices for everything. And I want to actually add in my little 2 cents on that because we have to work a lot to make enough money just to have food. Because we don't have anything to fall that back on. And I'm not against that, but it does become very draining to have to do it, any kind of job. I mean, unless you really love your job, it's nice if you do. I'm glad for you, but the job I do, with Uber driving, food deliveries, it's okay while I'm doing it. I appreciate having it, and it can be used to pay our bills, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's mental and physical effort. It takes a lot of hours to make just enough money to be able to break even on our bills.
And we're not even breaking even on our bills.
Right. We're kind of going down a little bit here and there.
At crisis mode in a minute here.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm not worried about it, but maybe I should be. But, anyway, the bottom line is that, we can work ourselves to death. Because I think that we both do want to, Kathy and I both want to serve the next level. And that I believe from that they will help us find ways to make ends meet. And sometimes maybe that means figuring out which things we can cut back on. I don't know, if we can do much of that because we've already cut back on
everything.
pretty much everything that we were doing. We don't go out to eat hardly at all. I mean, we still do once in a while, but it's out to eat means like to a fast food place. It's like, but even those prices are high now. I mean, you can't get away with Taco Bell for less than $20 for two people.
Yeah.
If you want to have a decent meal. And so, at $20, we at best we make that in an hour. So I mean, for one meal for two people to have to spend that much money compared to the other 39 hours that you work, whatever, that require a mortgage and all these things. So yeah, but see the lower forces, that's one of the things that Doe talked about that was wrong with the whole credit system, is that you end up getting yourself so deep in debt that you can't not change anything. You can't let's say you hate your job. You can't really change it until you have a better one. And you don't even have the time to look for one or the energy to look for one. And so so that you remain in debt, hoping that you can win the lottery or something, which, is probably rigged most of the time. And it isn't, anyway, but, or that a relative is going to give you an inheritance or something, which I did benefit from some years ago, but that's all gone. But, and so, I think, right, life wasn't meant to be a constant striving for ability to just feed yourself and have a place to live that's decent. But now the prices are so high on everything. Look at the way the prices for a house or an apartment, went up after 2007-8 when the government pulled a shenanigan that we saw as, the financial crisis. Where everybody else that was in tune with the stock exchange, the investment bankers, they made away like bandits. And the government also made away like bandits. And what do they do with all that money? No, they don't put it back into the economy. What they do is they support their projects, to build underground cities and try to go to different planets to get certain elements, or to build, or to build weapons that can destroy the space aliens. Be able to shoot and misdirect, indirect, asteroids into a different direction, deflect them. That's real projects that are being done as we speak around the planet by many different big countries. Meanwhile they say, oh, well, there's inflation, or there's not inflation, and how can we fix the inflation? Raise the interest rates on the debt. And what does that mean? That means that the corporations that are borrowing in order to pay their labor costs are going to have to pay more interest on those borrowings. And so therefore they're going to pass on all that interest to the consumers of their products and their services. And so inflation. Yet they say that that's going to not cause inflation. It's like, how does that work? How does that work to actually... And T said in 1972, in the book that she and Doe were writing, 73 actually, that the inside outside is happening, and the upside down, right side up is happening. That's not our exact words, but she was saying that everything is being turned upside down and inside out. And that also means that the truth is coming out more and more. But seeing the truth is one thing, but you can't do anything about it, right? I mean, you can see that there's corruption here and corruption there, galore in the political system, in the economic system, in the health system, and, on and on and on, okay, in the military industrial complex. But can you do anything about it? No, of course not. Doesn't matter who you vote in, that corruption is going to exist because that's the nature of the human beast. To, just play the game of supporting the things that can get the most press, that mean the least to changing what they want to do. And getting into power and doing that. Okay? And so, but what we do get from seeing the truth is, if that's not true, then what is? It helps us ask that question in our minds, subconsciously or consciously. Some people want to know what is true. And so they keep on putting all these stories about, putting T and Do side by side in the story with Charles Manson and Jim Jones and those people in Kenya that killed themselves and killed each other and buried a whole bunch of people. They keep on putting that out there. And I had someone tell me in a meeting that we did in Cincinnati, or maybe it was the Savannah meeting, that what they wondered about was why they were trying so hard to tell us that Heaven's Gate was so bad. Why are they seeming to go overboard? Talking about what? That they didn't cook their pancake. They had instructions to make their pancakes a certain size. That's the kind of question that becomes in the media, or that we didn't have, that T&O didn't provide enough dental care, or that they wanted you to shave, and that when Doe was asked how he shaved, and he said that he went down, they didn't want to hear, our authority didn't want to hear that because he shaved up, and not that there was ever a procedure that said you had to do it that way, and there was no system in the bathroom where you were doing your shaving alone to actually, prosecute somebody in some way for shaving in a direction that Doe didn't shave. That was the nature of the classroom, was honesty to oneself. There were certain things that if you did it or said it and it wasn't according to procedure, that somebody that heard that would be actually responsible, because you asked them to be responsible, to telling you what you were doing that wasn't according to the procedures that we got. If you didn't ask for that help, then that would be something that would be brought up as well. Why aren't you asking for that help? Maybe you don't want to be here. If you don't want to be here, leave. We'll even help you leave. We'll put you in a halfway situation if you want to think about it a little bit, before you get back with following all the procedures of the group. And many people that were put in the halfway situation, where they didn't have to be subject to what the group was teaching, wanted to come back when they got the opportunity. Some didn't. And I know all those specific cases. I can talk to all those specific cases with realistic understanding, and a lot of that information is in the audio tapes. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to believe me. You can hear it in the audio tapes. Why is it that the lower forces don't want those audio tapes available to everybody? Well, it's because there's too much truth in them. At the same time, the next level is also wanting to dole out the truth in certain ways, at certain stages, certain degrees, because too much too fast is like throwing too much fertilizer on a plant. And what happens is another disease can set in to that plant that can be even worse for that plant to grow through. And so that's why I think the next level didn't compel someone like Juan Odie, who believes in Doe as his older member, to give us the tapes sooner, to give me the tapes sooner, so that I could give them to Carl Odie, and so that we could both have them, because we've been spreading the Riccoti tapes that came from Riccoti, getting them out of storage. That came directly from Doe as a gift. So it's not like there's anything that, but see, that's why this is, Mark and Sarah, I believe, were forced, in a sense, by the next level to put their money where their mouth is in terms of suing us, because they knew, I feel, that they would be showing anybody that looks at the situation how far off track they got from what Tiando's teachings were, because they've been saying things to people that were not true, and yet they're the go-to webmasters of the Heaven's Gate site. So for them to be weighing in with their opinions to people that come to that site and ask questions with wrong information, very wrong information, and putting articles out, interviews out, giving wrong information, actually lies and deceit galore, even in little tiny, even though they don't use a lot of words, the little things they say are actually keeping people, trying to keep people away from the information, because they are afraid that, this is one of the reasons we think that they've justified it in their minds, is that people are going to go commit suicide. Yet there's 20 years of Carlodi and I distributing the information, and nobody's committing suicide, because it's not about suicide. It's about having a vehicle and learning lessons from having the vehicle, and having all these human experiences gives us the opportunity to grow our minds, to change those opportunities that are negatives into positives. And that's what growth is about. And that's what it takes to actually grow a mind that could actually qualify to be on a next level crew on a spacecraft that can be as big as a planet, inside that planet, or on the planet if they have a task to do on the planet, throughout the heavens, and a whole totally new life system. You know, you don't have the same problems you have here, but you have problems. You have opportunities to grow, and you actually have more freedom than you do in the human kingdom. Because like Ryan was saying here, we don't have a lot of freedom here. I mean, we have had certain freedoms that other countries don't have, but when you have to be enslaved to the man, you know, whether it's a man or a male or a female, the system, just to get by, you know, to where you're exhausted and you can't do some of the things that you feel your heart is more into, that's a recipe for disaster. Like my buddy, my music buddy Cole named one of the songs he wrote that we recorded together, Recipe for Disaster.
Quite a few jobs that I had that when I would be driving on the freeway to go to those jobs, that I would just think, I could just drive my car right off this bridge. I could just crash my car into the semi driving next to me. Like, that's how much I hated what I was doing. That I just literally wanted to die. That's not how we're supposed to be living.
No. So yeah, I encourage anybody that's in that kind of situation to ask the next level for help. And ask the next level for service. and help to have the time to give service.
Make sure that's what you want, though, because they will. Like Alexander, who was on one of our last live streams, like he was asking for service and he got it, and it wasn't like what he was expecting. So just make sure that's what you really want before you ask.
But he didn't see it as a negative, I don't think.
No, it's just, certain situations may arise.
Right, but the next level is gentle. They know how to take care of all the souls that want to grow in their direction. So they don't give you more than you can handle. And
right, that's right.
if you think that you got more than you can handle in terms of bombardment of negativity or whatever it is, then ask the next level if you can have a breather.
Yeah.
I mean, Tiendo told that to us. And I don't think they would have said that if it wasn't true, because I didn't see any evidence that they ever said anything that was not true, because they even said, at times that this isn't totally accurate, but it works for now.
Right, we may get updates.
Yeah, they weren't trying to pretend like they were gurus. They just were, are. From the tip of their toes to the top of their heads. They were filled with next level mind. It's a miracle that they were here for those years. And it's a miracle that we still can see everything they were, well, not everything, but most things that they said.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so let me get back to I'm going to skip what you said, Melissa, for Ryan, because you guys are having a conversation. Then Alex says from Idaho, they always compare MAGA to Heaven's Gate. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the recent,
Yeah, I know.
one of the
It's
recent things.
it's like make America great again. Well, Biden's saying the same thing. He's saying his slogan was restore the soul to America. When I heard that, I thought, restore the soul to America? America has a soul? You don't know what a soul is, I guess. A soul is talked about as a new being. America can't have a soul. America can be the land or the government in which there are many vehicles that have beginners or intermediate or advanced souls attempting to use their vehicles. Now, I know people don't know that because they don't believe what Tiendo taught about it. Or they've probably not even heard it, because, of course, the media doesn't really tell you only a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. They want to fill the airwaves with, this expert said this and this expert said that, and then they take a little bit of what I say or Colodi says, they stick it in there, and sometimes they, give you a pretty fair shake, like in the HBO doc. They kind of gave me a good shake there, I feel, but rarely do they spend much time at all on the things that Tiendo said, unless they can use it, to make it into a negative.
Right.
And then they do, even though they take it out of context most of the time. Casey's here, and he says, hey, everyone, sorry I'm late. What did I miss? Probably not too much. We were just talking about how the eye for an eye, is it still in effect? And we were saying that it's really not. It's like the 6th grade lesson, and we're supposed to be at the 12th grade lesson, or 11th or so lesson stage, where that doesn't really apply anymore.
We were talking about tape 12, Casey.
Yeah.
That's a good one to listen to.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's very clear. You can hear everyone well, so it's not a challenge to listen to it.
Mojo says Mark and Sarah are prejudiced. Jay Miller says over on Facebook, love you guys.
Jay, we are talking about doing maybe a meeting in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I think you're in Michigan.
Yeah, if there was a way we could do it and have a big enough venue, but even if we can't find a big venue, we'll do multiple days if we have to, if we can figure out where to stay and stuff.
Because we're not sure. I guess it's been so long since we actually live streamed. We're not sure. It seems like maybe Chicago is not going to happen.
Right, it kind of looks that way.
So
So we're open for something in June somewhere.
yeah, we're kind of feeling around Indianapolis. Um, we want to stay within like a 2 hour radius of where we're going to be at. So Indianapolis might be good. I haven't made any moves to try to find any kind of venue in Chicago, but we don't think that we're going to do Chicago.
Yeah, you know, I
Because
mean,
the opportunity seems to have
right.
gone away, which is a little depressing, but it is what it is, so.
At the same time, it may be appropriate, you know, because for some reason when we got to Chicago with the classroom, where T&O intended for us to put on meetings, after we did like 4 or 5 or 6 meetings in the Colorado area, and this was right when the news was breaking, and T&O sent us to Chicago, and then the news broke, saying that they knew who T&O were. I mean, Bowen people were. They gave their names, and that they had a felon on his record, and so they were looking for him. Anyway, they sent us to Chicago to hold meetings, and because of that happening, and all being together there, they sent us out of Chicago. But we did do the Chicago meeting in 1994, so I guess, but they didn't do any meetings in New York City.
Okay.
And I don't think we did any meetings directly in Boston. And, I don't know. I don't know how to judge it, but maybe small towns or mid-sized cities are better. I don't know. I'm not closed off to any of it.
No. Yeah. It's just if it's not coming easy, then it seems like maybe that's not the place for us.
Yeah, we don't want to try to force it into working. We put our feelers out. We talk to people that have expressed interest in helping us with a meeting setup. And so that's where we're at. When others want to help us, we need that help.
Yeah.
I mean, we can probably do without it, but we don't think it'll be as good.
Well, and it's nice to have other people, like for Cincinnati, it's nice that other people can, even without even knowing it, be of service. And making connections in different areas, it's just nice, that we're not, and that people are interested and that they want to help. It's nice.
Yeah, Casey said that is bullshit right there. Check that link out, everyone. I'm not sure what he's referring to. I think it's maybe about the Ben Zeller thing on Reddit. Maybe. I'm sorry if I didn't get to you on time, in order to know what you exactly were referring to there, Casey. Ryan says, so I can't really hate an Amazon. He was saying earlier that he has a problem buying things on Amazon. Melissa says, I mean, I use it too. I don't think boycotting Amazon will do anything. Yeah, I don't think so either. But NRL time, I think you need a new Gucci bag, Melissa. Okay. Melissa says, laughing out loud, no, I'm good. Casey says, someone is selling dupes of the Riccati discs. Oh, yeah, we're not sure who's doing that, but we have some ideas maybe. But I don't really want to. But you don't have, the thing is that nobody has to buy them. There are ways of getting that information for free.
Mark and Sarah in the lawsuit against Rakoti's daughter were actually given those CDs, and they were ordered to disseminate them for anybody who asks. So you can actually email Mark and Sarah and ask for those, and they're supposed to give them to you.
And refer to the Judge Breyer case.
Yeah.
If you email us, we'll send you the exact case with the quote.
They're supposed to be disseminating those. They were ordered to.
Right. The consent decree actually ordered them to distribute all the information they had.
I think it was wasn't it a summary judgment?
No, that was part of it. That was the settlement agreement that had more details about that.
The settlement agreement, that's right.
We don't have the settlement agreement. We don't know where that is. But we have the consent decree that talked about the videotapes, distributing them, and Rakoti's audio tapes.
Yeah, and the CD specifically.
And the CD especially, minus the Rakoti.com, which is supposed to be taken off of it.
Right,
according
and
to the
maybe
judge.
the right to know.
Right.
Okay, you itch it.
So,
get off my coloring. Okay. So you don't have to pay, $150, $250, $350, whatever that guy is asking for. Who, by the way, has asked us for an interview, and then one of his counterparts asked us for an interview, which we didn't think was appropriate, so we didn't do it. You don't have to buy them from him. You can actually do a little bit of searching and find them online. Which Mark and Sarah are trying their damnedest to get them taken off in the preliminary injunction against us, even though we're not the ones that have put them online. On YouTube and on Archive. Archive.net? Archive.org?
I don't know the name of it.
Because Mark and Sarah already know about that, so we're not saying anything that they don't already know. Because we were, we're hesitant to say anything because we don't want Mark and Sarah to go after people. But at the same time, it's not that hard to find them.
No.
It's really not.
We just can't be the ones to actually give you the direct ways of doing it.
Because they'll just put that in the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Even though that doesn't mean that it's a strike against us or whatever, but their lawyers are really good at making everything we do sound just god-awful.
I don't know the band Days and Days, Ryan. Melissa got a weird painful ringing in my ears. Was it really painful? Because I've gotten ringing in my ears.
Yeah, it happens to me.
At times, and that weren't painful though.
I've had painful ones, like a pressure change.
Yeah, I hope it stops if it's painful. NRL Times says, what do you call Nickelback in a UFO? A flying saucer. Nickelback in a UFO.
I don't get it.
Sawyer. A flying Sawyer?
Oh, that's the person that thinks you look like.
Right. That's NRL Times saying that. Yeah, I have yet to look at that guy, but I don't care about him. Ryan says,
I think you look more like Rick from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I wonder where he is now, right?
That goddamn helicopter.
He's in that helicopter. So Ryan says he seems to think there's a correlation between wars getting worse and UFO sightings rising. I don't know. Jason says, no religion or philosophy is allowed to get out unless they control the narrative. Yeah, I think I know where you're coming from on that. They want to control the narrative, no question about that. Ryan says his mom told him that some Catholics believe that Jesus' halo was a space helmet and that he came from another planet. Well, in a sense, they're correct that he came from someplace else, off this, not on this planet originally. But the halo, I don't think was a space helmet. I think the halo was representing literal people seeing like an aura, which I have experienced with Doe and T, seeing that kind of thing. It's my opinion anyway. Melissa says, is Christianity a prerequisite to the next level? Not at all. Not at all. I mean, but to recognize, see, the thing is with that, is that members of the next level come to this planet in order to advance the civilization. And then that gets changed into what we call a religion. So, and Christianity is that what was termed after Jesus left. Okay, so that doesn't make the next level religious. That doesn't make the next level based on Christianity. It's the opposite. That Christianity was supposedly based on what they taught. But then when you look at what the actual Christians are talking about, the same way that you look at what the Jews are talking about, and the Muslims are talking about, and the Hindus and the Buddhists, when you look at all those religions and see what they were founded as, and then what they're talking about now, or after that founding, you'll see that it's almost juxtaposed as the opposites, almost completely. And you can go into more of that, but the next level is all about advancing beyond the human condition, to not be mammalian anymore, to not being animals that require that thrive on what humans thrive on, but qualifying. Like the Christianity teaches that, a lot of them teach that, if you believe in Jesus and you kind of live a good life relative to what they consider to be a good life, that you're going to go to heaven when you die. And they're not going to heaven. The most they'll get is that part of the elevated areas above the earth that is the astral world, the spirit world, which is limited to the Earth's atmosphere. And who knows how far past the atmosphere it goes, or how thin the atmosphere actually gets to be considered part of the atmosphere. So you're not going to the distant heavens where the next level has their spacecrafts and their laboratories, even though they can have a laboratory on Earth as well, even within the Earth's atmosphere. Anyway, Jason says, the powers that be are dragging you through the system, trying to get you to quit. Ryan says, haha, I love her attitude towards it and see where she's coming from. Okay, Gumio says, Guyomo, maybe that's how you say your name. I apologize if I'm butchering it. Haven't stopped by in some time to check in on y'all, but I hope that y'all still are doing all right. Take care. We're doing okay.
We're getting by.
We're getting by, and Ryan. Okay, I'm gonna skip over unless there's a question. Okay, Ryan, I don't mean no disrespect to you, but
You don't have to read every single thing.
right. Yeah, and okay. Melissa and Ryan are conversing.
Good.
Right, the difference between what you really want and what someone told you you want. Yeah, that's right. The society tells you what you should want, right from day one of these vehicles. Well, I mean, not day one exactly, but pretty much, in different ways. Uh,
That's true.
so Melissa may take a pay cut so she can work at home.
I would, I would, I think that if you think you can work from home, that's a good, um, I mean, it may be necessary, but I used to think that working from home was like what I wanted. I had an office job. I was a property manager, and I had wore many hats doing that job. But one of the things that I did was I coordinated all the repairs between the tenants and the contractors that we used. And one of the contractors, he was a handyman, um, and he asked me after working with him in the capacity that I did with a property management company. He asked me to work for him, to quit my job and work for him, and I got paid like I think it was $460 a week, which was more than I was making. And so I was like, hell yeah, and I got to work from home. First, I worked out of his house, which was better, but then they went to Europe, and then so I took the computer and the phone and this, that, and the other, and took it to my house, and I could not work in my house. That's when I first started watching The Walking Dead, and like the phone would ring and I'd be in the middle of an episode and I wouldn't answer the phone. I would let it go to voicemail. And people were calling to, like, hey, how much is it to fix my toilet? How much, I poked a hole in my wall, or just general contracting kind of things.
Wait a minute, there's a zombie out the door there.
Stop it. And when that, like, when they called, they want somebody to pick the phone up. They didn't want to leave a message, so it was a combination of me not answering the phone and also the owner not being present anymore, that he ended up closing the business down. I don't think it wasn't my fault, but I realized that I was not a good work from homer. Even though I thought that's what I wanted to do, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but like it would get slow, and that's when I would, turn the TV on or read a book or whatever. The cell phones weren't like they are now, so I wasn't getting on my phone, but I think Facebook was around. I don't know if Facebook was around yet then or not. So I wasn't like wasting a lot of time online. I was just wasting time watching The Walking Dead. But the phone would ring, and sometimes I would answer it, but most times I'd just be like, I'll let it go to voicemail and I'll call them back later. Like, I was neglecting my duties because I wasn't in that like work mode. And some of my friends were like, well, you got to get up in the morning and you got to get dressed and have a workspace and just get in the mode of working. And from my house, I couldn't do it. Plus I was getting high too, so that might have had something to do with it. But I got high from the time I was 19 years old till the time I was 47. I just quit a year ago. April was my year sobriety checkpoint, I guess, from weed. So that might have had something to do with it too.
So Elliot Michael says, can anyone recall specific audio tape numbers with sorority talking, or where T and or Doe may be talking about behaving outside of the craft?
Well, was sorority talking in that last one that we listened to? Was that him?
I don't remember that.
He talks in quite a few of them. So.
Well, what you can do is search the tape log for his name.
Cause
SRR.
There was a lesson that sorority got as far as talking too much outside of the craft with the people in his job.
I guess that's what he's talking about. Don't maybe talking about behaving outside of the craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one, if you do happen to have access to the tape log, you can probably search SRRODY or just SRR, and maybe it'll pop up. Because sorority was getting to, he was telling people in his out of craft task too much.
They were looking to him, and that wasn't the task. Because when we stopped public meetings in 1976, then the task was focused on the students in relationship to what T and Do were giving us to learn. And that when we got jobs in the world, out-of-craft tasks we called them, because we didn't have in-craft jobs at the time, like work-from-home jobs, which we did end up having. But the task was not to try to teach people at the job or
Right.
tell them about T and Do or anything like that. Not try to bring lessons to them. And I got a lesson like that too. That I was, I was,
Can't remember what
causing
type it
friction
was.
because at my job because I would, like when I was working as a cook and the head cook was yelling at the waiters and waitresses, all the time. And, using four-letter words that I didn't use at the time, weren't part of the classroom. I said, well, you don't have to be so crude about it. I say things like that to him, and that made him more angry with me. And it wasn't my place to try to improve his language. Not that those four-letter words are anything terrible, but, in the classroom, they weren't used. And so, anyway, so that was when I got a lesson like that about, what to do, how to act. And a lot of people that had jobs in the world got lessons about how to act or not act at their out-of-craft tasks.
Right, like don't shine too much because you didn't want them to ask you to work more.
Right. You don't want to
You didn't want them
right.
calling the craft, asking,
Come in on your day off.
Come in, or can you help me with this problem? Or,
give you more responsibilities. Because you didn't want more responsibilities. You wanted to just do the job you were hired to do as best you could with the time that you were spending so that T and Do could count on you being able to leave that job behind when you got back home to the craft so that you'd be thinking about what they were teaching.
Yeah.
And not thinking about, that person expects this report from me and, I've got to...
Or I didn't finish everything I was supposed to finish at my job today.
And sometimes they made exceptions for that. That individuals would, go in on a Saturday. But in general, they didn't want that to be the pattern. If it did become a pattern, then they would have us change our job. Because it wasn't about working. It was about working enough to earn an amount of sticks, money that we needed in order to, work for the budget. And beyond that, though, the main task was to learn the lessons that we were
our
being
alien guy fell.
given. Oh, we did?
He's behind you.
Oh.
On the ground. On the ground in between us.
Do I have to try to get him?
Yeah.
I feel a squishy thing there.
There he is.
There we go. Okay,
I wondered if he was going to stay up there.
Ryan says, my internet cut out apparently. What's on your shirts? It's a picture of T and Do from the New York Times magazine section in 1976. And it says on it, T and Do representatives from the physical kingdom level above human.
We sell these.
We do.
Although I think we sold out of a lot of the sizes at the Cincinnati event, so I don't know. But it's in the description if you want to buy one.
So David's plan says, what are the Riccati discs? I haven't heard of that before. Well, in 1997, after the class left, they left instructions for Mark and Sarah actually to retrieve the contents of storage.
Can I give a abbreviated
Sure.
version of this?
Sure. I wasn't going to go into detail about it.
You already did. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, but one thing happened after the next, and only Rick Odie found out about that instruction, and ended up going to storage, and only getting uh, with Oscodi, another member of the group that was outside the group, 486 audio tapes, and he
Roughly.
split them roughly between them.
Between Mark and Sarah and Riccoti and Oscodi. Or you think that he just gave
No, he just
Mark and
gave
Sarah?
about half to Oscodi. Oscodi ended up giving him to Mark and Sarah. He put him in a locker at first, and then Mark and Sarah got access to him somehow. I don't know how that exactly worked, because Oscodi decided to leave in 2000 though. But Rick Odie took his, what amounted to a little over 200 tapes, the audio tapes, and he started copying them, and then he started digitizing them, and Carl Odie helped him with that. And he put them on CDs, and he sent them to people. He sent them to libraries, and Mark and Sarah found out about it and were threatening him with lawsuits, even though, well, they did sue him for those. Even after he died, they sued him for those discs, and they won, because he left them for his daughter. And he sent them to me, and since Carl Odie was working with him, Carl Odie had those discs as well. Those are the CDs that Rick Odie made, and those are the ones that are being sold by somebody. And those are the ones that I was providing to people, and that Carl Odie was providing to people freely for years. And so that's the story of the Rick Odie discs. Is that short enough? No, we don't want to be on here all night, so we do want to get to everything with brief answers as we can do that. Do it justice. Okay, so Ryan says, on the halo thing, that is awesome. I always wondered what the halo was or what it was supposed to represent. My parents never pushed any religion on me, but their parents did them. Yeah, that's, it's good not to push it on anybody. It doesn't need to be pushed. Maybe expose somebody to something, that's, there's not a bad thing in that, I don't think. But the pushing is what the lower forces do to people. They force you into doing things. They have mandates to get certain medications. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean by saying
Well,
that.
you're going to have to guess then.
Oh, you're talking about, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about religion and you jumped to...
Yeah, but that's the lower forces working. That's the way they do things. They have mandates. They have requirements. Like when they had the draft, they required people that were turning 18 to register with the draft.
Right.
And then they required you to go to Vietnam if you happen to be picked in the draft.
Can't imagine how scary that would have been.
Yeah. That's the lower forces that do that. The next level gives options to people. Free will. That's how you can tell the difference a lot of times. There's a delay on reading the chats. Old School Dave is here. Hello to my wonderful YouTube friends.
Hello, Old School Dave. Good to see you.
Okay. No disrespect of y'all. Y'all are awesome. I don't expect you to read everyone, but I love that you tried. You're welcome. Elliot says, has anyone from Pennsylvania offered help, or have you thought about coming to PA for a meeting? Yeah.
We're actually going to be in Pennsylvania around the Lancaster area, and I'm working on setting up a meeting in York. I don't know if that's going to happen.
There's a place called New Hope that I think could be a cool place.
Email us and send us that if you don't mind. Because
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is a big state, so we're gonna be, like I said, around the Lancaster area, about 30 minutes from there, from the end of July through the beginning of August. But then we're heading up to around Albany, New York. So it's a very limited time that we're going to be there. And I'm working with a gal in York that maybe we're going to have something happen there. But if that falls through, then we can see.
Or we can maybe do something else. I don't know if we can line up things behind each other because the travel things and it can be too complicated to do too much. Right. We don't plan on being in that area.
We're just
for
going
more
to
than
be
like
there
7 days.
7
right?
days, yeah.
But who knows what's possible? I guess because. So let us know what town you're thinking of. Oh, you did say that already. New Hope. I don't know where that
you
is.
mean New Hope, the town itself? I
Yeah.
think that is around Lancaster, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know. But we need like a venue.
Yeah, a place where we.
Cause it's hard. Like it's been difficult trying to figure out like what group of people is not going to be dicks to us.
So I appreciate you bringing it up, Elliot. Definitely like to talk with you more about it. If you have some ideas, you want to send them to us at sawcat, SAWCAT 575 at gmail.com. It's also in our description, that address, if you aren't
It's 2
still
hours
here.
away.
Well, if you aren't still here, then you wouldn't heard me say that.
It's 2 hours away from Lancaster.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, I think that I'm looking at the maps right now that we'd probably be more inclined to do something in Philadelphia because it's right around the way from there. New Hope looks pretty damn small.
Yeah, we do
It's
want to try to
pretty
stick to.
tiny.
We can only do so many, so little bit-
Philadelphia would probably be more what we're gonna if we were able to do that.
Well, I do know somebody in Philadelphia, but I don't know if he'd. I can ask him if he knows of any venues.
Well, I can look it up too because Philadelphia for sure would have
Yeah,
an oddity shop or something. That seems to be like the crowd that's more accepting of us as oddities, shops, venues that do music but also have options for speaking events. We're also going to start looking into, instead of having to try to just kind of not rely on people, but so we don't have to work with anybody who is going to be harassed by Mark and Sarah, or not want to help us anymore because whatever lower forces they're dealing with. We're looking at using the website Eventbrite to just sell the tickets ourselves and rent out pavilions and parks.
yeah. So what we've done in the last 2 meetings that we had is we've charged $10 for a ticket, and we've split that with the person that provides the venue, and they have to either have access to somebody that can donate the venue or they have to pay for it. So they don't, and we have to get there and have a place to stay while we're there. So, we really don't make much money from it. It's not really but we do try to make something so that we can continue to do this, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to afford the gas for our motorhome to go to many places.
Yeah. Costs $300 to fill up the motorhome.
Yeah, we get 6 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
Melissa says, laughing out loud, Kathy, yeah, I might be distracted too, but I know I need something slower for sure. My mental health is pretty bad, hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, I remember when T and Doe said that in relationship to hanging on to their information and growing with their information, that you can feel like if you're hanging on to the edge of a cliff by your fingernails or fingertips, and that as long as you keep on hanging on, you're doing okay.
Melissa, do you like to drive? And are you in a medium-sized city?
Okay, I'll move on to the next thing, and maybe she'll answer that.
Because if you like to drive and live in a medium-sized city, you can try Uber out. And if you want to do that, message me, email me, because I'll set you up and we'll both get a pretty hefty referral. And I can walk you through getting set up. Anybody that wants to be an Uber driver, message me. Because it sounds really stupid, but Uber 100% changed my life. I haven't thought about driving off a cliff or driving into a semi for about 8 years, and that's how long I've been working for Uber. You're not really working for anybody. You're your own boss. Which is kind of scary, as far as like you have to motivate yourself to get up and get out and do it, but the money motivates you. And Uber is as corrupt as any other corporation, and they take over half of the fare. In Cincinnati, let's say we make $100, and the fare is usually about $20 to $30, and the rest is tips. So the lowest delivery that you're going to get is $2 or $3. And that's the base fare for most of these deliveries is $2 or $3. So you get a lot of requests for $2 or $3. And
Because people don't put tips on it a lot of
people
times.
don't put tips, and other drivers pick them up because they're stupid.
Or
I
they're
don't
on
know.
a quest of some sort.
Even if you're on a quest, we
Yeah.
argued about, like, if you do $3 deliveries
Right.
and make
You can miss
20,
other ones.
you do 20 deliveries, you at $3 a delivery, that's crap money, and then you still haven't met the quest. So it might be, it's not worth it to be doing that. But people that sign up don't know any better, and they think they have to accept everything, and you don't. But that enabled us, like, I did passengers for about almost 7 years. And then when I met Sawyer, we wanted to work together. And also I was getting sick of people and dealing with them in such a confined space. And COVID as well. I switched to deliveries briefly during COVID, but doing deliveries is just as good. And what's really nice about it is we are able to do deliveries anywhere. The only place that we can't work is New York City and LA. And, like, who would want to work there anyway, right? Because both those places have things set up. But we can do deliveries anywhere. With people, you have to be in your home market. But I was able to, like, today we didn't work. I actually haven't worked the past couple of days because my mental health has not been that great. And physically I haven't been that great. So Sawyer's able to go out because we're both signed up. And he's able to go out and pick up the slack when I can't bear to do it. But before, when it was just me, it was nice to be able to, like, take a day off. And then maybe I'd go out and work later. But just to have that flexibility and to just know that you don't have to be somewhere is great.
Yeah, Ryan, some people think that the tithing, that Christians do, and I think Jews have their own form of that, because I think that's
Oh,
where
really,
it
do
started. But I don't know about Islam or Buddhists or Hindus, but exactly on that score. But it's, the problem with it, in my mind, I'm not sure exactly what Tiendo think about it, is that it gives people the impression that they're serving the Lord, by supporting their church. and they may be doing some good things with their money, but the design of the Next Level had for the lesson plan was for individuals to do this, to perform the service, not to pay somebody else to perform service.
Right, right. I feel like, was tithing in the Bible?
Yeah,
In the Old Testament, right?
yeah. Ryan Voorhees says, and a guy I worked with, Little Caesars. Oh, okay. Autistic Vegans here says, hello, just finished the HBO Heaven's Gate documentary. What are your thoughts about it? At least I liked the music choices, and Sawyer was great, of course. Well, thank you for that.
Have you written about that on your blog?
I have. I think I have. I think you'll find a blog entry that'll probably give you. My blog is sawyerhg.wordpress.com, and if you search on HBO Max, you'll find a lot of my thoughts about it, because I forget a lot of the things that I had to say about it. You know, I get mixed up with other ones too. I just thought there was. I'm glad they gave some time to me and my personal life, because otherwise, if they don't do that, then people can get the wrong impression that I'm some crazy cult person that, you know, isn't real. You know, they have some impression about me that's not true. That's what I'm talking about. That's not true. Yes, I am crazy in the fact that, you know, according to the world, I believe in tea and dough, which much of the world, or a lot of people, don't think had any value and even think were evil. Okay, so in that sense, yes, I'm crazy. But in terms of tea and dough's information, I'm not crazy at all, because I think they were the ones that had so much to say that was completely truthful and real, not made up or illusionary or mysterious. They were taking the mystique out of everything. There was no religious supernaturalism in their minds. Everything was basically, it could be shown as to being something scientifically proven. Even though science is also a form of religion, the way that people are using it now, you know, to say what's not possible. You know, that's complete illusion, to say what's not possible when we didn't create any of this. So how do we know what's possible and what's not?
Yeah.
Ryan says Mississippi is probably off the radar. It's probably off the radar.
Yeah.
Well, it's not on the top of our list.
Kinda.
It's kind of hard to want to be there, like during the summers. It's awful humid and hot there, and you know, the hurricanes come along and wipe you out, people out all the time. It's kind of normal.
Well, it's not really on any of the routes that we
But we did live in Biloxi,
have gone through.
and we did a meeting. The group did a meeting in Biloxi at one point in '75, I think. And we camped in an area north of Biloxi at one
I
point.
haven't really been to Mississippi.
For maybe 3 weeks or so. Nothing against Mississippi. I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, who knows what's possible. So I wouldn't say it's off the radar completely. I don't think of that about any place, but I think it's pretty unlikely that we're going to go to Alaska or Hawaii. Unless someone wants to pay us for all our transportation and lodging.
Well, we can drive the motorhome to Alaska.
Yeah, I know. What a drive that is.
Woohoo!
That would cost about
Oh yeah.
$5,000 and
And you're
Yes.
the one that drives, because I'm still scared to drive this thing.
Well, I don't mind driving, but it would take a while.
Yeah.
Melissa says I do DoorDash sometimes, but I might do Uber Eats, but I don't want to drive people. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, people is. I mean,
Kathy's
it's
got a lot of
really.
horror stories.
But I also have a lot of good stories.
Yeah, she does.
I met a lot of very interesting people, and most of the time, you don't even talk to them.
Yeah.
They just, it just depends on when you're working. If you work the drunk crowd, then you're gonna, okay, hello. Then you're gonna deal with, some certain things. But if you work like early mornings or dinner time, you're going to be dealing with taking people to work and picking them up from work and taking them home. And usually those people don't want to talk because they've been playing nice all day.
Autistic Vegan says, do you still sell T-shirts? Yes, we do. We sell these T&O T-shirts.
But Melissa, I've heard that DoorDash does not pay nearly as much as Uber does. So.
But there's plenty of people that are doing it, so it must be okay.
Lots of people are doing DoorDash. Right.
We thought about having signed up for both. Some people do both. Oh,
yeah, a lot of people actually do both, I think. I've always been like, even when I did Uber, I did Lyft sometimes if they were offering me a decent quest, but otherwise it's too complicated to run both the apps. I could never get in that mindset.
Yeah, when you want to buy a shirt, then just send an email to us at sawcat575@gmail.com. And we'll see what... We only have very large sizes right now.
Yeah, I think that we might have sold out of...
So at the last meeting we did, we sold out the smaller sizes that we had. So, but they do shrink if you wash them in hot water, but we don't recommend that actually.
Well, and they run small too, so like
Yeah.
we had large, extra large, and 2 times large. So I think that we only have the 2 time large left, but I could be wrong about that. We might have a couple of them left.
It says, hello, eyes on the class, says MW1 Online. Hello there.
Hey, MW1 Online.
Melissa says, giving plasma is a good way to get some quick cash. Have you all thought about that?
We're not eligible to do that.
Because we're not vaccinated? Oh. What? Anyway, I never really gravitated to that, but I guess...
But we can't.
It's a possibility, I guess.
No, it's not.
Well, some people it's a possibility.
Yeah, but for us it is not.
I understand you bringing it up. Really sounds expensive, yes.
Ugh.
Maybe park in a rental spot and travel with the car. We do that.
Yeah, we have a campground membership that we pay like $150 a month.
And then sleep in the car might be cheaper than way.
Have you tried to sleep in a car?
I mean, for months and months and months, you know. I mean, yeah, some people can do it, but
That's why we have a payment on a motorhome, so we can sleep in it and be comfortable.
Yeah, be comfortable and have a bathroom and be able to take a shower. And so, yeah, we want some of those comforts. And I don't think that's unreasonable. I think the next level wants us to be comfortable. It's just, they don't want us to be...
They got us this motorhome.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have been able to get this motorhome.
Especially for the
next level
price
didn't help us with it.
That we did, and it's been so great.
We pay for it. We don't own it. The bank owns most of it.
Yeah. We'll be paying on it for... Well, like, what were you saying? They're giving a 30-year mortgage to a 70-year-old guy.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that kind of, silly? But see, they don't care because they just get the sale, and then they get a bunch of money from that. And even if we defaulted on it, they still make money. Everybody makes money in the banking industry, And they write it off if they lose on it. And then it becomes something that, they don't have to pay taxes on. So, what are you going to do? use the system at this point, I think, to some degree. But it's not, it sucks being in debt to where you're having to pay interest.
Right, that's the thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we could, we'd probably pay off this thing so that we didn't have to pay thousands of dollars worth of interest over the years.
Yeah.
So most countries, MW1 says, most countries want you to follow tradition, Russia and Africa and China, not outreaching. Yeah, United States is the same way. Canada's the same way. I mean, there's no place I don't think that isn't the same way. They kind of stick with the traditions in thinking and acting. Melissa says DoorDash averages around $12 per hour, usually after gas, but I get good gas mileage.
Yeah, I'd switch to Uber.
Autistic Vegan says, luckily I'm a large guy. Okay, cool.
Good.
Then Melissa says, laughing out loud, I'm not saying I do, I'm just saying people lie about the back. Oh yeah, right. Melissa says, yeah, it sucks. Then MW says, Sawyer and Kathy following tradition isn't enough.
Yeah, we don't follow tradition.
Not really. I don't know how we follow tradition. I mean, I'm not saying that all tradition is terrible or anything. You have to be specific about it. But the status quo is generally about stagnation. I don't even like using that word normal. I used it the other day to describe that I was kind of a normal person.
Really?
But I think Doe said that he doesn't like that word normal. Because normal kind of makes it sound like you're just like treading water. You know what I mean? You're not going anywhere with your swimming. You're not challenging yourself.
Well, who wants to be normal?
Right.
Are we done?
Yeah, we are. Let me see.
Great.
Well, Erin said, I want to travel with you all. I put a like on it.
Good.
But you'd be driven crazy by us, and we'd probably be driven crazy by anyone else being in this motorhome for very long.
Yeah, I don't know how families do it. Being in such close quarters with each other.
Well, most of them do it just as a recreation, right? That's what they call it, an RV.
Well, I'm in a couple
Recreational
of,
vehicle.
RV groups on Facebook, and a lot of people are full-time with like 3 kids. My parents did it. With my brother.
Okay, well, we're caught up on the questions, and we already talked about a few things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're going to close down for the night after a short 2 hours.
That's good. I didn't want to be on. We both didn't really. I don't know. I can't speak for you, but we've been kind of hesitant to do a live stream.
We are on a new schedule now. We're not staying up till 7 in the morning every day.
But it seems like we're going back to that schedule.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, I guess. To some degree, maybe a little bit.
The breakfast and lunch shift didn't really live up to what I thought.
Yeah. But starting the dinner shift early may still pay off.
I think
Anyway.
it is, yeah.
With that said, it's been great. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, me too. Glad you guys tuned in.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in to us, and
we'll let you know as soon as we know what our next meeting's going to be.
Yeah, next meeting and any progress on the lawsuit, we'll bring you up to date on stuff. And if you do want to follow my Facebook page, Facebook Sawyer Heaven's Gate, you'll see some of the things that are on my mind. I get, very few people really seem to like what I post there, but I don't care. It's for each their own. And I just say the things that I feel like are important to me to say.
Yeah, I think it's good for you to get it out.
Yeah. And Melissa says, hope you all stream again soon. Thank you. It kept me distracted from the anxiety from work. Well, good. I'm glad that can help with that. So,
Yeah.
you know, Kathy uses the tapes from T&O, the
Yes.
audio tapes and the Beyond Human series that are all on Heaven's Gate database.
Whenever I get really upset, or even just mildly upset, I put on a tape. And if you don't have access to the tapes, go to Heaven's Gate database on YouTube and listen to the Beyond Human series, because every time you hear something different.
And Doe's voice is soothing.
Yeah, every time I hear him or see him, it
yes, he
calms
says
me
things
down.
that are challenging, but actually they're not that challenging. And he's not going to tell anybody to commit suicide. That's not in the program. It never was in the program, and it was just the way they chose to leave. But we need our vehicles in order to learn lessons in the human kingdom. That's the only way we grow. The only way souls grow is by having a human vehicle to make choices through.
That's right.
So with that said, good night.
Good night, you guys. Thank you.